Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony, this is my workshop and I'm building another Armortek 1:6 scale tank. It's the M26 Pershing tank, and if you've been following me you'll know that. And the last session we built these 4 grills. We also did a bit more work on building up some detail of the top of the hull, and these 4 grills I found extremely frustrating, but actually I think they look really smart. Really pleased how they've come out. Since then I've just taken off the pins on the back of this handle here. If you remember, it now sits perfectly flush on this T section of the hull, and I had to do a bit more cleaning up of the hull just so that these little hinges sit flush inside, and now they fit perfectly. So I'm really pleased. As much as it was frustrating, it was actually, you know, worth the effort. So that aside, today's session is going to be about building these bad boys. So there's 4 of these. There's 2 different types. I think it's B and C, and there's left and right. So we're going to go on and build all 4 of these, and then we're going to test fit them to the back of the hull, a little bit more detailing, and then I'm going to go over the next step for me, because again, it's one of the things that I've been contemplating is, when do I put the motors in? As you know, I've bought the motors because of one of the concerns I had was how I'm going to fit it all in once the top section goes on. But there's been some developments, shall we say, in the electronics, and some concerns that have been raised by some of the builders out there about the electronics for this particular tank. So that's made me reconsider the next step, and I'll go over that with you a bit later on. So in a moment I'm going to reset the camera as I normally do, and then we'll get on to, I'm probably going to build one of these away from camera, just in case, you know, just to sort of understand the frustrations and the challenges, and then I'll build one in real time with you guys, and then we'll go on and speed the whole process up, and then we'll cover off a bit more detailing on the hull before I go on and talk about the next step. So give me a moment, I'll set the camera up, and I'll be right back. Right, so before I get started, to assemble this main grill, there's 2 drawings here. This is the exploded one. There's a whole series of little metal slats, and they come in the same bag, and all mixed up, and it looks like a bag of spaghetti. And when you empty it onto your bench, you just think, oh, how am I going to sort these out? So how I went about it was, I worked out that there were these ones here with notches on, and there was 2 different sizes. And then I looked at this and I could see that it was 7 of each required on the short hinge and on the long hinge. Sorry, short hinge and a long hinge. And then the rest of them are all flat cut. So that was easy for me to sort the difference out with there. And then I looked at the 2 different lengths. And once I got these grouped, it really didn't take much time to sort this out. And again, using the straight edge, it was really helpful. And now I've got them into pairs, enough to do both sides. I'm now going to carefully put aside the right hand side while I assemble the left hand side grill. So I'll get cracking. So I've gone ahead and assembled one of these, which is this is the grill B, I think, and this is the left hand side, so that fits inside the plate that comes with the kit for the back of the tank. Now a couple of things on this, relatively straightforward, and I'll show you on this frame here. So I've just gone ahead and assembled this frame ready to go to the next step, which I'll show you in a moment. So these little serrated pieces, they're in a separate bag. They're in the same bag as the grills for the grill type C. So if you're looking for this, and there's 2 types, one that sits inside the frame, I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera here, and one that slots into the frame, which is here. So they're slightly different in length and design, and they simply just super glue into into its position. Sorry. So when you come to do this, I found that this was slightly bent, so I had to straighten that out using my little mallet. Other than that, really straightforward. Make sure that this lip for the handle is always on the upside, and these serrated edges here are on, you know, pointing up, so that the other, you know, the receiving parts can be slotted into position. One thing on this as well is, unlike the other grills, these ones here, where we had three, it was a size 3 fitting that went in here. This is actually 2.5. Not sure why they didn't do the same on this grill, because that would have been a lot easier, because this fixing actually fits a lot better into the back of the hinge. So I'll pick this finished one up now. So these hinges are fixed here, and then there's a fixing on the back here as well. And they fit better, but I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I still had to machine that to get it flush. So now I've test fitted this inside, if you like. I'll get the right one. So this sits inside that grill there. Let me see if I can see that. There we go. The only thing I've got to do is just, now that the glue's set, is I'll just file down the little pins on the other side of this, but that fits in there beautifully. Now, I had to do a little bit of filing work around these slots for it to fit, and you will have to machine some of this because it's not perfect. And you know what? It's actually quite a heavy old thing. So, once it's built, I think, you can see the quality in it, but it's just a little bit frustrating getting it all to that position. So what we'll do now is we'll go on and I'll build one of these in real time. And the only other thing just of note is, although they don't show it on the instructions here, is this little sort of the hinge part. I've gone ahead and I've inserted that as part of the build, because I think it'd be easier rather than trying to mess around putting the pins in this while it's situated on the tank. So other than that, it's actually really straightforward. So I'll crack on now and we'll build one of these in real time. Right, just about ready to go. I just want to talk you through this. So you get two parts to the hinge section. You've got the long part and you've got the short part. The short part goes with the long arm, and the long part, if you like, goes with the short arm. It's tempting to put these in now, but don't. And the reason why you don't is because on here, on this thing here, you have a little step or a notch. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. Little notch. And that notch fits, or supposed to fit, into that. I don't know if you can see that again on the camera. Very difficult, maybe. Here you go. And as you can see, it doesn't. It needs some more work. So that needs to be filed, and that one needs to be filed. And then once all these are in situation, you can then slide that into position. So we'll put those away for now, and we'll get cracking. And that's actually the piece that locks it all together there. And so obviously, first things first, the old Loctite. Now I'm going to go, so this is the long section first. Again, bearing in mind that this hinge goes there, so you're going to want the longer of the slats here. So we'll start on here, and I'm going to just put a bit of glue on. By the way, I've got barrier cream on my hands, and I find using barrier cream, especially when you're using super glue, it's inevitable you're going to get it on your hands. You could use gloves, I guess, but I find gloves really, they just get caught. It's better to use your hands, but protect your hands using barrier cream, and then at the end of the session you can clean your hands up, and it comes off really, really easily. Now these are all the same size, and there's 7 of these to slot into position. And yeah, there's one more there, and we'll go again with the glue. And what I'll do in a moment, just put it. It's incredible to think that this is all held together with a bit of glue, but it seems to work. Whoops. Just make sure you go into the right notch. And what I'm going to do is, before I go ahead, I'm just going to just tap those down to make sure they're in position. And this is so much easier than the other one. So I was dreading doing these, but actually it's, if they all work out like the first one, really straightforward. Famous last words, Tony. Now this is just 2 of this type, and then there's another type C. So just again use my hammer just to make sure they're all in, and that's all of those done. 1, 2, 3, that's it, 7. Now, because I've got these in their graduated sizes, I'm quite comfortable to, I know I'm going to work from my side all the way up, and then that's the sequence. Sort of, well, actually, I'm going to go from top to bottom. Sorry, so I'm going to go the longest one at the top, and working my way down to the smallest one down here. Just keep the glue going. So basically, from what I understand, looking at the forum, and the issues with the issues with the cabling on the wiring on the option packs, I understand that there is possibly a fault on the power unit, and it's actually quite serious because a lot of the builders on the forum have experienced problems with it catching fire, which is really not something you want to be doing. I mean, 24 volts is a lot of power, and you know, if you've got that kind of power running through a piece of kit that's faulty, it will catch fire. So I mean, Armortek, even when I'm making this video, are actually on their annual break. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond to the various builders out there that have experienced this problem. But ahead of that, I've decided I'm not going to crack on and install the anything electronic on the tank at this stage. I will, however, unlike the Tiger, I will be putting an inline switch in to be able to kill the power that flows through the battery without having to unplug it physically. I think that's something I did consider on the Tiger, but everything sort of kind of works so well. I didn't feel the need. I didn't feel the need to do something like that, and it worked out quite well. So I'm definitely going to be doing something like that on this as a safeguard anyhow. But that's actually made me rethink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble the top. I will fix it into position, the hole, and then I'm not going to use any thread locker on it or anything like that. And then I'm going to mask off the inside, do the painting of the top hull, and that allows me then to move on to work on the turret, which is something I've been absolutely looking forward to so much. And because I now know my way around this tank quite well, I'm quite confident that I'll be able to do that without affecting the ability to put the motors in. And if I have to, well, I will be on, you know, the fixings will have to be taken or removed in order for me to get access to the inside of the hull to fit the motors. But I'm happy to do that because for the most part everything will be painted, and if I just need to touch up the screws, I will. So again, no real hardship there. So that's the reason behind it. So probably ahead of schedule. I'm looking forward to, I think, I don't want to say too much at the moment, but I'm looking forward to possibly the next step would be working on the turret, which is I'm really excited about. And we'll see, but that's the plan. So you can see this is actually this is working a lot easier than the other ones. You know, cutting those rods and everything else was tedious, to say the least. I think the biggest challenge with this, not the biggest challenge, but the most important thing is to make sure you've got all these slats all measured correctly and set out so that you know that the right ones are in the right order. Not sure if you can see that, it's all starting to fall in line now, follow the angle perfectly. That's obviously where the hinge goes. We've only got 2 more to go and then we're into the hinge. And this is the last one. And that's that. Right, so we just do ready, I'm going to put the glue on all that, the full extent of that. We'll just go in, so we can very quickly pop these in. I can see that this grill's a little bit out of shape, so I can sort that out in a moment. I mean, they're quite, without the strength of these slats inside them, the frame is actually quite fragile and prone to damage. So that popped out. So once it's all in and you've got the hinge installed, it does strengthen the whole thing up. So don't worry too much if you think it's all a bit flimsy, because it is, until everything's sort of slotted together and fixed. And well, that's popped out again. So here comes the frustration. So we're just going to have to push that from the back. Fortunately, the glue has not gone off just yet, so we can do a bit of this. Again, as soon as that camera comes on, it all goes out the window. There we go. Right, no harm done. It's me just trying to rush it to get to that point before the glue goes off, but it's absolutely fine. It doesn't help when you've got the old sausage finger syndrome like I have. But anyway, last two for this particular grill, and that's gone in. Hold your breath, hang on. There you go, it's gone in nice. Just gonna so that's how that should look ahead of you putting the actual hinge on. So it looks a bit odd, but you can see that the angle is running perfectly. It's all stepped perfectly, and then you've got the inset here for the long part, sorry, the short hinge, and then the long hinge here. So that's that. I'm going to just move that straight edge away from out of the work zone now. Move this over, away from that surplus amount of glue there. Just get kitchen roll, acetone, clean the workspace up. It does take the markings off that, but it's no big deal. And so that's that. Next thing is, this is what I was explaining earlier. So let me just move that out of the way. So when this goes into position here, this little groove, you can see that, has to sit over those notches. Let me see if I can just, these notches here, maybe I'll turn it this way. There's notches here, you can see that now, can't you? Right, has to sit in those notches. This doesn't do that because it just, no, it just needs a bit of work. So all you need there is a small modelling file. Turn it on its side like that, and then so really, I might have to put this in my vise. No, that's right. So just try and open that up. Really good set of little modelling files, these. I did a tool video, I don't know if you've seen that, but ahead of doing the M26, and I did talk about these files. It goes from this sort of small gauge up to the heavy gauge stuff, and And these little files have been absolutely invaluable on this project so far. Would not have been able to do this without them. So let's just see if that now fits. And it does. Perfect. So that fits on there now. Perfect. Just need to work up this other one. Let's have a look. Yeah, it just needs a bit taken out of that. Getting started is probably the worst bit. Let's put it flat on there. This is all part of the joy and fun of making one of these kits. So if you're embarking on one of these, or about to start embarking even on a build, be prepared that a lot of this, what we call fettling, is required. And actually I think it gives the greatest sense of satisfaction when you've finished the tank, because it's not just, no disrespect to Meccano or Lego or anything like that, you know, it's not just snapping things together and following instructions. You do have to work with this kit and, you know, do some work on it. And I think that's why it appeals so much to builders, because it's not just, yeah, it sets you challenges, shall we say. Let's see if that, perfect. So now I can see that, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, that aligns up with a little hole in that. So now that's ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is, we've got the back piece. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in first. I think I'm going to put this in first, because it's easier to work with like that. So I'm going to pop that in there. Bit of thread locker. And we're using the M2.5 gauge. We need, oops, count the ones we need. I normally have these out and ready, but I was so keen just to get on with this. I've just got the bag here, so please forgive me. I mean, when I first unpacked this, I did contemplate taking all the bags of screws out and putting them all into dishes and everything else, but I thought, you know, the amount of time that's going to take ahead, I'm quite happy with the way I've done this. There's bags of fixings, I've got them set out, and their gauges, and you know, we've got through, I'd say, what, we're 2/3 of the build about at this stage, about 2/3 of the build, which is crazy really. It doesn't seem that long ago I started it. But so that's in, and you can see that sits flush on the bottom like that. Now this is still slightly proud here, so this is definitely going to have to be worked on my bench grinder, to stop any issues with the grills binding with the frame, which I'll show you shortly. So that's gone in there, that's nice. Thread locker on that. These, compared to the other grills, are actually quite, yeah, they're quite satisfying to work with. That's on there like that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take a little hinge, as you can see, which goes in between here, and we're going to pop those pins in. These are M2.5 gauge pins. They go in reasonably straightforward. And put another one on that side. bear with me while I do this. That's it. That's that one in. Use the side of my bench. Sorry, just taking it out of camera for a minute. That's it. That's in. So that's that. The only thing now left to do is to put the cross member on here, which is this piece here. Just line up those holes. Get your thread locker. And just work it so you can find when the screw fixing finds its way in, so you don't have to force it. If it goes in and it doesn't feel right, unwind it and put it back in again, because you don't want to cross thread the aluminium. So that is that. Simple as. So the only thing left to do now is just this handle, and then what I'll do, I'll put one of those on now, glue it, then I can come back and I'll show you the one I did earlier. So what I tend to do with this is just put a little bit of super glue on the back and the front sometimes, but I don't think so on this. Get a little bit of that excess glue on the leg of that. This goes in this direction. Get that set so it's the same height, like that. Can you see that? Sorry, let me bring it back into the camera, sorry. So it's like that. Then of course you've got these overrun of the pins on this side. Now what I'll do is I'll just pop that over there out of the way. This is the one I did earlier. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my let me see if I can do this with you. Just going to just use the edge of that. And I'm just going to gently file the pins. Obviously give the glue enough time to go off, and don't force this. This should just be really soft and gentle. It's aluminium, so it does work. It runs down quickly. What I'll do is I'll test fit this onto the actual frame in a minute. That's pretty good. And then this is the frame that it sits in, and there you go. Fits like a glove. So that's two done, and the two of the larger ones. Now we're going to go on and do the two smaller ones, but I'll probably just get Ben to speed the whole process of that up so that we can crack on to the next part. So that's it. All the grills are complete, and I've installed them in the sort of this aluminium housing plate that comes with the kit, and I've temporarily just positioned everything on top of the tank so you can see how the grills look. And I think the detailing looks brilliant. I'm really pleased with it. So, as much as I found doing the rodded or the grills that you have to cut really frustrating and fiddly, I think now I'm looking at it, I'm really pleased how it's turned out, because the detail is just incredible, and I'm really buzzing about how this is going to look when it's painted. So anyway, I have yet again changed my plan. Yes, I mean, you do that, and I guess if you're going to be building one of these, you will change plans and you will sort of reassess how, you know, the next steps. So when I was reading through the instructions for the next step, if you like, there are parts of the tank on here that sort of like the light guards and another tow hook and everything else that go on this. But once they're fitted, this back plate here, which is loose at the moment because that's what they tell us to do, would need to be firmed up and screwed and bolted in. So then I thought, do you know what I'll do is I'll test fit the motor just to position it. And it clearly, you really do have to move this back plate away from the back of the tank in order for it to get the motor in. So that's why I've changed my plan. So I'm going to install the motors, but I'm not going to power them up. So anyway, so that would be for the next session. So I just thought I'd bring over and show you how this looks. So this is the housing plate for the grills. I did have to do some work on the grills, so I had to grind down the screw fixings here, both sides. I had to do a bit of cleaning up on, or you know, a bit of work on filing around the apertures so these things fit nice and snug. And I've taken off the pins on the back. I don't know if you can see that. Let me get that. So the pins that protruded on that, so I filed those down, and now they all fit nice and snug. And that just screws down onto the top of the tank with some countersunk fixings, and that finishes off this part of today's session. So the next time I see you, I will go ahead and install the motors. I will not power them up, I'll just install them, and that way we can then final fix the back plate and finish off all the detailing around that. Then I'll go on and install all of these grills, but I will not use thread locker on the fixings because I want to remove them after I've painted it so I can get full access to the tank. And then once we've done that, we're onto the turret, and that's I'm really excited about. So we're only a couple of sessions away from that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Hope it's been of interest. And if you're building one of these, I hope it's going to help you. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and thumbs up if you've liked this video, because apparently it does help the algorithms. So again, it's me, Tony, still trying to build another tank, and I'll see you really soon. Thank you.